Hello, everyone. It's Natalia Marin, and welcome to a new episode of Does It Work? A show where I, your lovely host, will evaluate if cultural phenomenons, government systems, psychological theories actually work. In future episodes, we'll look at things like the red nail theory, the electoral college, manifesting, and so much more. But today, our episode surrounds superstitions. Ooh. Sorry, I just have a magical vibe to superstitions. I don't know if that's true, but whenever I think of superstitions, I think magic. So that's the vibe for the episode. But before I dive right in, thank you so much for listening. How are you? I hope your morning's going good. Thank you for spending your morning with me. We're going to have a great time. So let's go. Superstitions. Let's start off with a definition. If you don't know what superstitions are, I feel like they're pretty well known. But if you don't know, here we go. A superstition is a belief or practice that is based on fear of the unknown, magic, or chance, and is often considered irrational or supernatural. It can be defined as a notion that is maintained despite evidence to the contrary. So it's just kind of something that we believe, and there's two different types of superstitions that I found. So Dr. Stuart Vyse, ? Again, you can see all of the sources that I include in this episode. It's all source-backed. So if you go to my YouTube channel in the description, you'll see the links to everything. These are all we're back on scientific journals, guys. If you were listening last episode, it was about dating shows, and it was mostly just columns of people who were vastly interested in dating shows. So it was kind of funny. But we're back on the scientific journal sphere. So let's go. So Dr. Stuart Vyse, an author of Believing in Magic, the Psychology of Superstition, and Superstition, a very short introduction. So I'm not the only one fascinated with superstitions, and I wanted to make that clear. Dr. Stuart and I really, really are really into it. So what he says is that in terms of two kinds of superstitions that mentioned, there's two different kinds, basically. And that I would do is call them a personal superstition, so something that's unique to yourself and acquired usually by trial and error from superstitions that are taught to us. And then they also have cultural superstitions, so things that we learn about in culture and society, like black cats, ladders, the number 13. So if you don't know, black cats, supposedly, it's common belief that if a black cat crosses your path, it is bad luck. And society, that's very well known. Or a red sky at night means good weather, while a red sky in the morning, it means storms are coming towards you. My dad and I used to always say that every morning. So, that's a superstition I hold. I wanted to share some of the personal superstitions. So I know that a lot of people will have football, it's football season, everyone, woo, go ASU, I think we lost, but, nevertheless, we love ASU, but superstitions are very common in sports, I think, and so wearing, a football jersey or whatever, every single game, people will have that and be if they lose, and it's because I didn't wear my football jersey, something like that, but, I want to share my personal one. So when I used to play soccer a lot, I played soccer growing up from when I was very, very young to about 16 or so. And so my superstition was before every single game, I would usually be doing kickoff. And so I would do 3 jumps, and then I would write a cross on my upper thigh, a heart on my upper thigh, and before I started every single soccer game. And I don't know, it worked for me. And there was one game I didn't do it, and I didn't play well. So I am superstitious, so I'm sorry, I just think of The Office when I say that. If you know The Office reference, comment down below that I'm thinking of. Okay, let's go into it and not just personal fun little things. I also asked on my Instagram if we had any superstitions of people to send in. So that's also a plug for the Instagram if you want to follow it at Does It Work Show. So you can send in your personal superstitions, and I'm going to read them out later today, or later in this episode on air, obviously anonymous, but I will be reading them out because some of them are fun. So let's go to some challenges of superstitions, and let's start the evaluation of if it works or not. Okay, so some challenges are it can hinder someone's performance. So if you lose a lucky object, for example, it can hinder your performance in that sport, like what I said, when I didn't do a little heart on my thigh, I didn't play well. I don't know if those are correlated, but maybe I just having a bad day. But also, it can cause anxiety. So phobic superstitions cause a lot of anxiety. For example, people who are afraid of Friday the 13th might change travel arrangements or skip an appointment or kind of just stay inside all day because they're scared of what Friday the 13th will do. It can also contribute to bad habits. So they contribute to bad habits like gambling. If you're really superstitious about gambling and sort of tactics like that, it can contribute to that. One review on literature that I found that was really interesting showed that superstitious beliefs don't necessarily connect to better outcomes for athletes. So it's not necessarily like a direct connection, but the placebo effect, going back to episode 2, I think, when we talked about the placebo effect. So the placebo effect is a big part of superstitions, and you should go watch that episode. It's on YouTube if you want to see it. And the placebo effect of the belief was enough to make it worth believing. So that's kind of complicated, but basically that if they think that they're going to perform better, then they perform better, but it's not necessarily like the superstition. It's more of like the belief and like almost like, like the belief in yourself that you'll do good, then you'll do good. But obviously it's not directly correlated to like, wearing your favorite football jersey or something like that. But the more serious side of superstitions is that they can seriously affect mental health. So I found that, so for most people, superstitions are harmless. It's just kind of like a fun little thing that people do. But at times, they can become an obstacle in your everyday life. So for some people that have OCD, superstitions can manifest as fixations. So people may feel unable to dismiss the superstitious behavior or belief, or it can trigger obsessive thoughts or anxiety. It's referred to as magical thinking. I don't know why. Guys, I said it was magic, but I guess it's referred to as magical thinking within like the OCD community. But it can also affect other people with mental health conditions like generalized anxiety disorder. It can negatively be impacted by these superstitions. So, proceed with caution, but some people are way more affected by it than others, and then it can become a super bad habit. A study published in 2009 in the Proceedings of Royal Society of Biological Sciences. I just thought that sounded so, prestigious, so I had to say it out loud. But it's an interesting study. It basically examines conditions under which superstitiousness, oh my god, say that 15 times, aided survival. So, when the risk from missing a genuine threat is higher than the risk of a false alarm. So basically, if there's like a rustling in the bush, it usually results from wind, right? Like you would kind of think that. But if it is sometimes a lion, you're better off acting as through every unsettling noise is life-threatening. It's kind of a weird study, but it basically says that that you should err on the side of like caution instead of so basically people were discovered that people will err on the side of caution rather than the side of like belief. So it's maybe not as super correlated to superstition, but that's what I found this article, and it's a study actually. And so it goes back to the thing. So if you hear like a rustling in a bush, they think, these people and the scientists behind the study, it's better to assume that it's a lion than to assume that it's, I guess there's no lions in Arizona or kind of anywhere in the wild, but better to assume that it's like a, coyote than it is to assume that it's wind, because then you'll be prepared. So sometimes superstitions help people be prepared for that, but then also, like we said, it can go into people who have OCD to suffer from that kind of stuff and anxiety disorders. So, it's an interesting loop. But let's go into how it works. So how it would work for people. So there's kind of 3 main components of why superstitions tend to work for people. So the need for control. In the Psychological Science, a journal, it was published that activating good luck related superstitions like break a leg or crossing your fingers or something like that can be the use of lucky charms can enhance performance across various tasks including golfing, motor dexterity, memory, and anagram games. So these performances improvements stem from changes perceived self-efficacy, as activating a superstition bolsters participants' confidence in their ability to tackle forthcoming tasks, ultimately leading to improved performance. I'm really flexing my Psych 101 muscles that I took last year. But yeah, so basically your perceived self-efficacy, let me get an actual definition because no one just wants to know my bad definition of it. It's self-efficacy is a person's belief in their ability to achieve specific goals by acting in necessary ways. So going back, so your ability to perceive this goal. So let's do an example because I think examples make everything easier. Okay, so let's say that I'm studying for a test, and when I'm studying for a test, I always need to be drinking a Diet Coke. Let's just say that. I like Diet Coke, but let's just say that I need to be drinking a Diet Coke. So if I believe that drinking this Diet Coke will help me perform better on this test because when I'm studying, I'm always drinking it, then my outcome will be better because it's this type of like the need for control in your life. There's a lot of things that we can't control in our life. So when humans have this kind of, I don't know, like perception that we do have control, then we do perform better because a lot of things, especially test taking, I would say, it's extremely mental. Like it's extremely mental of whether I think that like 99% of the people you're in class, so you know what's happening, and then it's mental when you get to the test because it's such a stressful environment. So I think that this like need for control, it helps that because then you have like this superstition, but it's also like, this is going to help me do better, so I will do better. That's what this is trying to say. Okay, so then the second thing is cultural and social influences. So superstitions aren't just isolated quirks. They reflect our collective human experience. So our inclination to align with community's beliefs makes superstitions feel integral facets of our integrity. So they connect us with cultural heritage. They offer a sense of belonging and security. And then this one study said that it underscores how superstitious behaviors can transmit through social learning, impacting individuals' perceptions of personal control. So going back to the control thing. But it also says that there's a connection between, this other study that I thought was kind of interesting, said that a connection between the sense of divine involvement and increased likelihood of individuals' experience and sense of meaning in life further emphasize the link between superstitions and our shared human experiences. This article, this journal, it wasn't an article, this journal is really interesting, and of course it will be linked, so I think that you should read it if you can. It basically said these scientists thought that since people believing in religion, this is like a very known thing, if you really believe in religion, it will lead to a stronger community. Basically just having like a unifying belief in a community, not necessarily just religion, but that kind of concept further emphasizes the link between superstitions and having a shared human experience and how that's powerful. So I'm not a scientist that did this study, but if you have time, you should read it. It's just kind of interesting. So the third thing is coping mechanisms. So superstitions, due to their comforting nature, can also serve as personalized coping mechanisms for people or specific event-specific problems. So a study published in Basic and Applied Social Psychology examined whether superstitious behaviors among professional baseball players in the U.S. and Japan noted that American players with higher superstitious levels believe that their rituals positively impacted their individual performance. So while Japanese players leaned towards the idea that their superstitions contributed to the team's overall performance. I think there's a lot to do with this study, partially because I think that America is more of an individualistic society, and so it's kind of interesting. So like United States American players believed that their superstitions made them play better, versus Japanese players believe that the superstitions made the whole team play better. So maybe that Japan is more of a collectivist society. That also goes into talking about like different cultural superstitions, just like in general, different cultures have different things. It's very common in Hispanic culture that like you can't leave your bag on the floor because then you'll lose all of your money. That's a superstition. Definitely in Hispanic culture, my mom has told me that numerous times, won't let me put my bag or like my purse on the floor. but yeah, cultural superstitions have different ones. If we have time later in the episode, I can dive more into that, because I just think, oh my god, I just hit I hit my nose on the mic, so the video can see that. Y'all can't. But the cultural superstitions are just kind of interesting and kind of funny, depending on different things. So, the final thing that I have to say about this, for does it work, or how it works. So researchers suggest that participants did better when superstitions were involved because they experienced an increase in self-efficacy. We already learned what that is because we're so smart. And participants primed the superstitious comments reported a greater sense of self-efficacy compared to the control group. So this is going back to this thing. I have this article. It is from Science AIM, just like a scientific, I don't know, newspaper, let's say. So let's go over here because I thought this was interesting. So if I can find it, I think it's over here. Okay, we'll find it later. But there's another thing, and this is for one of my besties, Paige, who is a strong Chiefs fan. I thought this was funny. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes wears the same pair of red underwear on every NFL game. After donning the undergarment during a successful first season in 2017, Mahomes continued to put it on before each game, believing it would bring him good luck. He said, quote, "If we're on a hot streak, I can't wash the pair. I got to keep it rolling." I thought that was really funny. It's in this article. So it's not just us people who aren't in the NFL. Everyone kind of suffers. Not suffers. Everyone kind of believes in superstitions. There's a Pew Research survey that said that more people than not, it was something like almost 90% of people believe in superstitions, and basically almost everyone believes in some kind of superstition. So that's kind of like generalizing it not generalizing, but putting it into context that if you believe in something, you are not alone. Someone else definitely will believe in something too. This is going back to this study about the placebo effect, because I think it's fun when we talk about the interconnectedness of the does it work world. So here we go. So guys, superstitious is very difficult to say for me, and I've been saying it about 15 times this episode, so we had to have a few fails. Superstitious beliefs can also amplify placebo effects. In a 2021 study in the Journal of Cognitive Processing, hypothesized that people who were more suspicious would get a bigger boost from the placebo treatment during a memory task. So the authors split 104 participants into placebo and control groups, and after assessing everyone's guys, we're failing. We're almost done. Superstitious tendencies, they gave participants in the placebo group colored water, and they told them it enhanced memory. And highly superstitious people who drank the supposed memory elixir recalled that more words than the less superstitious counterparts. And the opposite was true for those in the control group who drank a plain glass of water. Even though superstitions have no magical powers, scientists say it's no magic. The psychological impacts of believing them can tangibly affect outcomes. Okay, this then will go into my opinion. So, my opinion, do superstitions work? Yes, they do. They work for me. I have a few. I don't know what my most recent one is. Oh, I'll have to think about that, and then I'll share it. But I have a few superstitions that I won't do. I definitely won't walk under a ladder, and I try to avoid cracks on the sidewalk as well. So maybe those are my most prominent. But I do think they work, and they are, like, technically, it's not scientifically proven, like, you know what I mean? Like, scientists aren't like, superstition is magic and magic helps everything. Like, that's not true, but, like, the effects of superstitions are proven to be true. Like, the three things that we said, so the need for control, cultural and social impact, and coping mechanisms, they are proved. Do they have there we go. Reboot it. Do they have some downfalls? Yeah, of course they do. I would say most things do. And so I don't think, as every time I say in this episode, you should use it to control your life. And when superstitious behavior becomes more of a compulsion than just kind of a fun thing that you do, then you need to kind of evaluate your relationship with superstitions as well. But overall, I think they work. I think it's something, and that we already said that the placebo effect and superstitions go kind of hand in hand. But your belief that you can do something is powerful. Your belief that you can have self-efficacy, your self-efficacy is important to just general society. If you believe you can do something, you will be more likely to do that something, and that is proven by superstitions and the placebo effect, and honestly just like positive self-talk. But those things, I believe it works. I think it works I think it works. That's and that's the show. No, I'm kidding. We still have a few minutes left. Okay, let's go to the audience. I'm going to pull up my Instagram right now and see what some people have said. Let's see. Oh, wait, I'm on the wrong account. I know that my mom was talking to me before the show, and I said that I wasn't going to include names, but this is my sister, so I can include that she did this. When she also played soccer growing up, and she needed my dad to tie her shoes before every single soccer match so that she would do good, and she held it to it. She's a very superstitious person, but so she had my dad tie her soccer shoes every time before every match, and I mean soccer. I think honestly, to be honest, I think that sports bring out the most of most superstitions. Okay, here are a few. So, again, no bags on the floor equals no money is one of them. One person says that as soon as you talk about something that is good, it will go away. They say hashtag stay humble. So believing that as soon as you're like, this is like awesome and this is all happening and almost like bragging about it, I think, then it will go away. So be careful. Another person said, gotta knock on wood. I would say that I use that one a lot, actually. Knocking on wood to make sure that something that is like really good doesn't happen. Or like if I say, for example, like I'm going to become like super mega famous, like I have wood right here, so I'm going to knock. Hopefully the mic picked that up. Like, because you don't want that to like kind of interfere with what's going to happen or something negative or whatever. So those are the main ones that I got on the Instagram account. But yeah, honestly, like I'll be looking at that all day. So if you guys want to keep sending some superstitions, I'll look at them. Maybe we can talk about them next episode at the beginning of the episode. But yeah, so we're on to our final segment. So it's called Works For Me. It's my unscientific, unresearched thing that has been working for me recently. And this is not novel and this is not new to anyone actually. But my new thing that's been working for me is like a paper schedule. So I usually will just like write on my notes app. Like my notes app has everything in my entire life, but specifically I'll write on my notes app for like just like a schedule. And I have like, because I am always on my computer, I go to journalism school. That's kind of like the thing of being at school. I'm always on my computer, so it's easy to write it down. But when I have super busy days, I'm loving having like a piece of paper and writing specifically on the paper, and it's also like fun to cross it off. Also, you can make the schedules look cute. I know that a couple of my friends and my sister are like really die-hard paper schedule and to-do list people. And I actually like it. I don't think I can use it for my everyday, honestly, because my life is so online. But I do like it for like specific purposes, especially I like paper when I'm planning like shows like these, and just kind of like to organize my thoughts. So I'm getting into that a little bit more. Also, then you have like a bunch of to-do lists and you can see exactly everything that you did. And that's always like fun, you know? It's always great. So thank you so much for listening. Remember to follow me on Instagram at @NataliaMarin_ and the show at Does It Work Show. You can participate in some fun episodes like this where I'll ask you guys some questions and you can get your things read live on air. These episodes will be on YouTube later, and I'll provide all of the links that I used. We're back on our scientific journals, everyone, so that's always so much fun. You guys should take a look at some of these links. They're really interesting, and I know that I'm definitely not the only one that finds them interesting. Maybe I'm the only crazy one enough to talk about at 9 a.m. about them, but they are interesting. You should look into some of the studies that I have pulled. So thank you so much, and I'll see you all next time. I hope you have a great morning and a great day. See you next week at the same time, live on blazeradioonline.com at 9 a.m., later on YouTube. Bye, everyone, and I hope y'all just have a phenomenal day. So, see you later.